Are you an emerging leader who has felt confined by your past or how others have defined you? Do you feel that now is the perfect time to take control of your narrative and make intentional decisions in alignment with what is trying to emerge through you at this moment? Great news. You couldn't be in a better place than you are right now because a very special guest and I are about to share a mindset that will address this very situation and so much more. As we continue our pod series, Intentional Decisions, tonight's focus, somebody type or say tonight, right? Tonight's focus is embracing new paths. I'm talking about the your past, right? Realizing that it does not define you. However, there is a way to take the pain of your past and use it to pursue your purpose. I want you to think about that right there. What's good, Elevation Nation? And welcome to the Elevated Podcast, where the IT stands for inner tugging, and we elevate emerging leaders through love from the inside out. I'm your host, Christian, and I am excited to introduce an amazing brother who has not let his past or any part of his story limit or hinder his forward motion. He is a mentor, a coach, a program developer, an entrepreneur, facilitator, and national speaker, a staff development expert and best-selling author. Come on, somebody, right? He has a unique gift for turning his life experiences, and we're talking about loss of parents at a young age, becoming homeless at the age of 9, getting expelled. He takes those things and moves them into a powerful life lessons, right? And he uses all of that and more to understand. And I want y'all to hear this loud and clear. No matter what's happening to you, there's always an opportunity to become a better version of yourself. This brother makes an impact on any stage he touches. And we are truly blessed to have him grace the platform of the Elevated Podcast in this episode. Elevation Nation, please help me welcome Sam Brown to the podcast. Whatever you got to do, put your hands together. If you're in a comment section, put something out there. I see you, Kristen. I see y'all out there expanding brands. Y'all need to go ahead and put y'all stuff together and be excited as we bring in to the platform Sam Brown. All right.
What's going on? What's going on, man? How you feeling?
Man, I'm wonderfully well. I'm improving. I'm blessed. I am wonderful, man. How are you?
Listen, I'm even better after that introduction. If we got to work something out when I got my speaking gigs, if have you introduce me, we could figure out a retainer. Like, we got to figure something out. Because that was one of the best introductions I've ever been given. And I've been on various stages, virtually and in
Man,
person. So thank you again. I'm very humble.
Man, I thank you for taking the opportunity. And the thing is, I hear that often. I need to take that consideration, right? So as you know, our stories of our past doesn't necessarily define us. And as we thought about that in our series in dealing with intentional decisions, after we had talked, I realized, I said, listen, I need this brother to come on first and foremost, just to share like a personal experience that you had where you had to like let go of an old story per se and or use it to help like elevate you in your purpose. So give us a piece of your story. I said a little bit, but give us a piece of your story.
Yeah, so that question is very interesting. And in relations to emerging leaders, I was a young man fresh out of college, right? That next stage in life was like, where do I fit in? Where do I belong? And for me, like I always, well, not always, it was a point in my life at around 10th grade when I started to see myself as a leader. Thanks, thanks to the Coastal Youth Initiative, when they gave me opportunity, they saw past my behavior and they really wanted to invest in me. So Fast forward to college, my junior year, I became president of the second largest organization on campus, and it was the Black Student Union on a predominantly white institution. So for me,
Mm.
it was the dream come true because I finally get to be in that position since freshman year. Been waiting for this opportunity to be in that position to lead and set an example for our people, right?
Mm.
And break down the stigmas and do these different things. And intention versus impact is something I first experienced at that moment, where my intention was to build relationships with the police on campus so we can start to have certain events. Um, Create opportunities for us as Black and brown individuals to really elevate and develop ourselves. So when we leave college, we have a chance. But Impact
Mm-hmm.
was the first ever event that I threw. It was an all out brawl between a former board member that recently resigned right before that event and my vice president. Impact
Okay.
was my staff or my people on my board having meetings behind my back, right? Because they didn't
Wow.
trust my leadership. That's what was
Mm.
happening, and it was to the point where like I never wanted to lead again. But that experience, and as I got older, I really understood I needed that experience to truly understand how to lead based on who I was and not what I saw. Because that was everything that I learned as a leader. Just lead based on what you see, try to mix everyone's leadership styles. But the biggest lesson I learned was I got to lead based on who I truly am, because it'll
Mm.
make my actions feel more natural.
Appreciate that. That's amazing. That's awesome. And thank you for sharing. We're going to get even deep into what some of the stuff that you're sharing. So looking at that area of leadership and emerging leaders, like you were even saying, man. It's enough. It's a number of things that you're saying that hits my heart and my mind as it relates to the area of leadership and even experiencing the emerging leader. You talked about the area of staff. You talked about the area about heart. You talked the area about mindset, but even the area of like your story and leading up to that. So you're in a place of leadership from your story, right? You're in a place of leadership, right? And so I want to
Mm-hmm.
know that from the area of your leadership and where you are, from just the area of the bio, right? It's saying that you had experienced an area where you had been homeless, right? You had area of being expelled. You had some different things that you had to even like overcome to get to a posture and a place of dealing with the area of leadership that you're in now. I want to ask you, when it comes to the area of your story, where you are, being able to stand flat foot, national speaker, traveling, doing what needs to be done, is there something inside from the area of the past story even to now that you needed to release so that you can continue to walk into the open doors that you have access to now?
I would definitely say like what I needed to release was who I thought I should have become as a leader. That's
Mm.
one. So that story that I shared after that experience, I had imposter syndrome because
Oh.
prior to that moment,
Uh-huh.
mind you, I went from like being this young kid in middle school, just like having an identity crisis, and the only way I knew how to fit in, which most young people do, is by being likable. How are you being likable? By being a class clown, getting in trouble, whatever,
Yeah.
making jokes. So I went from that insecure young man to someone that felt like I was on the right track once I got to ninth and 10th grade with the Coach of Youth Initiative. And I started to have opportunities like speak, MC a graduation, be in the community, impact, like just be able to have conversation with people that were millionaires, that were billionaires, right?
Yeah.
So I thought I knew who I was until that experience of being president, where I thought this was my peak. If I do this, I'm good. And by
Mm-hmm.
failing, so in my eyes at the time, failing at that, I
Yeah.
it, imposter syndrome set in, because now it was like, oh, I'm a phony. Up until I'm a
Mm.
phony. This was my test, and I failed this horribly to the point. I don't want to lead. I don't want to supervise. I don't want to do anything. My senior year, I dropped everything. Every extracurricular, dropped everything. I was like, I just want to be a student, and that's what I want to identify as, because that's the only thing that I've done good up until this point. And I erased
Wow.
all the other work that I did with the organization and all the good work that actually came out of that experience. Like changing the image of the Black Student Union on the PWI campus was my vision. But at the time, everybody knew me as the fun guy, and they thought it was just about to be a party. So because I failed at that, I started to doubt, do I even have the ability to ever lead again? And that
Mm.
stuck with me until like 2020, 2021. So like 3, 4 years.
It's powerful. That's powerful. You said the area of the imposter syndrome. And funny thing you say that, because I just said that to my wife last night. We were on a coaching group, and I was saying, people were talking about the area of, who they are and how they operate. And I'm like, that's not my story. My testimony is not one that says that I always knew who I was. I know because of the area for me, as well as a coach, but also for me in the preaching side, and then the area of the
Mm-hmm.
husband and relationship, African American, all these things. I knew what the view is. As a man, you needed to be like this, or it was the expectation of this, or this is what you need to do, this is what you need. So I learned how to be the chameleon in any situation. I even learned an area of, okay, if I'm speaking, it feels like if the audience wants this, then this is what I need to go ahead and give them, because that's what's going to go ahead and move forward. So it was such a huge external validation is what I had to deal with, a ton of it, right? And I measured my success by that, because if they were quiet on me, or if they're this or that, if all the error, but then it hit me in a season of time, and this is what I want to speak to, where it hits to a place where it's like performance. And
Mm-hmm.
if you find yourself in a place of performance, you can hit all the external accolades, paychecks, all that great stuff, but then go home and really feel like, well, wait a minute, like it's like a high I got to catch, because it's all external. So I started doing some inner work. That's why we're huge on the Elevated Podcast on that inner work, looking within, realizing divine within, and realizing when it goes back to the area of the story, even the good, bad, great, it didn't even matter. I had to love who I am, what I have, and what truly is unique to me. And we're believing at a place that nobody's like, like special per se, but we can specialize in things. So we use the pain of that past and realize, okay, that's maybe a part of the story, but it defined who I am. Whether good or bad, there's still so much within me to operate from this posture and this place. So when you said the imposter syndrome, bro, like real recently, full transparency, where I really sat and was like, this right here is my
Mm-hmm.
expression. This is who I am, and I'm all right with it. Like I'm
Yes.
okay with it.
Yes. Exactly.
Being okay with
Exactly.
self. Can you relate?
Yeah. Listen, man. Like I, after those 3, 4 years, I really started to sit back, and honestly, it hasn't. It's been the past 2 years where I really kind of had this profound view on how I can really shape my life, especially in what I want to do. Even that position, being president, I had a vision that I wanted to be president my senior year, so I can go out with a bang. I was almost like walked into that presidency because it was like, hey, no one else is available to really step up and fill this but you, because you've been here the longest. So I even went into it. So I've learned to also not go into leadership roles that I don't feel like I'm ready for or want. And at the time I didn't feel like I was ready for, and it wasn't a part of my vision. So for our emerging leaders, don't always take that first like opportunity, right? Listen to your inner self. I felt that 100% when they presented it to me, and I told them my plan, and they said, "Well," and this was the president and vice president, two people I respect and I look up to. So they said, "Listen, Sam, who else?" And I think often we get backed in the corners, and we feel like we don't have a decision at that moment. But the decision is to listen to what we're pulling at, because my inner self was trying to pull me away from something, but I stepped into it prematurely, and as a result, it impacted me in a negative way, and I thought that was my reality. But that was just the fixed reality that society has created, because you're just supposed to be next from a hierarchical standpoint.
That's so good. Y'all heard that? Looking within, realizing that, understanding. Look, there's options, and we were talking about this as well. You're all in it, man. Was you not on the call we was on last night? Like there's options and opportunities, and I think sometimes when we can operate from a place of scarcity or even lack, like we can project. Like we're talking about that, I'm great, I'm awesome, all those things. But sometimes, we look within and realize, now I don't feel like I'm equipped for that. But I think a greater question is, when it's for you to say, I made the intentional decision to be a national speaker. I'm making an intentional decision to go and get my you went to Millersville, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get my
Yes, sir.
degree in Millersville. I'm making an intentional decision to do this, intentional decision to go ahead and do that. There's a point place where that made up mind is, now you have to learn the languaging for what it is to be a national speaker. Now you have to learn the ins and outs of the school system and learn all these things. You made the decision, but there's a person that you're becoming or unfolding or learning to go ahead and fully operate from, to be in the place that you see. There's work that comes from there. It's not a toil, but it's an area of making decisions. And when that mind is made up, my wife has said this yesterday, when a mind's made up in that way, the body and things will follow. And then there's an area of attraction where somebody says, you know what, that's Sam, that's Sarah, that's Bob, that's who's on here, that's Corlin, that's Kristen, that's all those people that are out there saying they made an intentional decision to show up this way. And when you make that decision, despite of what other people are saying or thinking, right, you solidify in yourself from the inside out. Then things begin to open up. So, brother, share with me a little bit about like opportunities since you made the decision, from your now to president to past situations, from making the decision. What type of mindset, what type of things have you had to carry you along the way during your journey of success?
So a few things. I'll give you three, because they've been on my mind recently as I get ready to enter what I want to call the next chapter, the next level of my life. But one mindset that I had to have was like, this is going to work because I don't want to put no energy into anything else that is not what I want, right? Meaning that my speaking career has to work. I started the business in 2018. And again, this wasn't like the official start where I was jumping in on top of stages like right away, or like, selling out conferences or whatever. This was very much Instagram, when Instagram only had 30-second reels. That's when I was believing that this is going to turn into something, because it gives me a certain feeling. I don't know what that feeling is yet. It gives me a certain feeling. And at the time, I didn't know how to emphasize certain words or bring attention to, the seriousness of what I'm saying, right? Or facial expression. I was a monotone 23-year-old kid in my grandma's room, in one of my grandma's rooms in her house, making a video, holding my phone up like this, trying to motivate the world, right? But really, it was me projecting like the pain that I had and what I needed to hear from my pain of losing my mom right before I graduated. And the mindset that I had to have was like, this is going to work because this has now given me life again to live. Like losing both my parents before 23 and feeling like at this point, no matter what I accomplish, they're not there to see it. It don't even matter. It was to the point I didn't even finish school because of trauma, because of depression and different things, but also because I had in my mind, like your wife said, once the mind is made up, the body will follow and you'll attract. I had in my mind school didn't matter anymore. So that business gave me life. It gave me a sense of purpose again in this world. So the first mindset I had to have was this has to work. The second mindset that I had to have was that I gotta stay humble and I gotta stay hungry. And to this day, no matter where I go, I'm a sponge but I'm a star at the same time. I'm letting people know of my greatness and I'm letting it be known through what I bring to the table, but I'm also humble enough to understand I could learn from a 5-year-old. I can learn a lesson from a third grader. I could learn a lesson from someone twice my age. I could learn a lesson from someone my age. I could pick up on different nuances on how to become better. I don't I don't have a problem with asking for help. So that was the second mindset. And then the last mindset is mo- I'm motivated by what motivates me. And that's what keeps me going on the days where money's not coming in. Um, I may not be leading in the way that I want. I may not be getting the result that I want with my students that I work with or my mentees that I have or in business or in leadership in general. But what motivates me is all those people that said I've impacted and inspired their lives. And on my 30th birthday, my fiance blessed me with a video 18 minutes long of people just talking about how I've impacted them. And that helps me keep going as well. But I had to give you those 3 points because that's been on my mind lately.
That's amazing. Amazing, man. Um, wow. Where do I even go from there? Gee. Wow. You see, it's a point where we gotta realize, oh man, the power that is within us. And I love what your fiance did. It's the loving reminders, the course correction, even realizing that when we fully embrace who we are, how we're operating, there is a place and a space that we go. And the amazing thing about that is that there are other people. It's funny how we even started, like we said, like that imposter syndrome and so forth and so on. Like when you're fully expressing who you are in your isness, accepting
Mm-hmm.
all of who you are, narrating and understanding that place, then there's people that are always watching. And I love it how when it starts from an inside out job, it's always a place where you get that affirmation in a different level, but it's different. It's like you don't even need it in the sense the way that it was prior, right? So when you look at yourself, you're realizing like I am making impact. I made a decision. I am moving forward. I am being all that it is that I desire and see. And because of that, it goes beyond just success. It goes just beyond the financial side. It goes just beyond all that. It really comes to a place of making true impact and helping people move forward. I do not forget when we connected, bro, to hear your heart, to hear your mind, to talk about those that you desire to help, dealing with the schools, dealing with different things. It's amazing just to know how doors open for those who, like you said, being in a place of humble, being hungry, being a student. Why wouldn't the divine open up doors for somebody who is intentional about that stuff? And so, brother, I salute you. I celebrate you. I am grateful for who you are and what is happening in this season and in this time for you. And my true prayer is that only good, great, and awesomeness flow to and through you and all that you have to continue to do forward. And man, I am super excited about that in the area of that journey. Thank you for sharing that piece, man.
I
Thank you.
appreciate that. I appreciate that, man. And the one thing that what attracted me to the podcast, is just like how we can have real authentic conversations. Those are honestly my favorite because it allows me to consistently talk about my past, and that's healing for me. And that's why I love therapy, so much, was because I just love talking about my experiences because one, it's healing not because I get it out, but it's healing because I know someone somewhere is going to hear something I said and it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
like, wow, I needed to hear that. Or wow, that gave me a different perspective on the same situation I'm in. And your
Yeah.
podcast gives that platform the opportunity and just how you speak life into the guest. Like, so I just had to also say that was another reason what attracted me to the podcast and us having a conversation and us being from Coatesville. And all of those
Mm.
things make everything make sense for us. So I appreciate you
Hmm.
and appreciate the opportunity.
No, absolutely, man. And look, and by the way, everybody who's watching, I am very aware that my screen is blurred, and that's not letting us stop us from moving forward and doing what needs to be done. Because right now it's the area of the sound, and what we want you to hear and what we want you to realize and recognize right now is right where you are. Like there is a place that you are to go higher in. And the reason why we even brought to this point in this place of having Sam be here is because he is a living example, of going from an area. You're talking about homeless nine, what? Dealing with the area of loss, dealing with all these things in your heart, like all this stuff that hit and took place. Like even no matter what you're going through, like the fact that you can take the situation and realize that you can have a powerful mindset to realize that this will work. And if there's nothing else you don't hear from us, like here, like whatever it is, that's we call it your inner tugging. You've been watching the area, the inner tugging, your it, right? Elevate it, your inner tugging. Whatever that inner tugging is, we want you to go for it. Like we want you to sit from there. My brother said, "Look, when we were at their Instagram, I'm in my grandparents' house. I'm out there doing what it is, believing. He had to believe in self, like believe in who you are. Be your biggest fan before there's any other followers, before there anybody else. Like believe in the stuff that you use. If it don't work for you, we can't expect it to work for anybody else. And so I invite us to go higher. Like, and here's the other part, Sam, and you can speak to this too, bro. Like I had to be honest with self. Like that part like hit me. Like being a speaker, being a coach, like it's our job. It's our area where we're helping other people to unfold. But then sometimes you cannot be honest with yourself and realize that, you know what? Some of the stuff that I was using wasn't working. And that's just real. So I had to switch it all up. I'm like, wait a minute. I can no longer project this because how can I expect that to you, but I can't pay my bills? Or how can I do that because I'm trying to do that and I'm dealing? No. Like I had to come to a place to really, and I don't know if you heard about my story, but in this past summer, I just stripped myself from all aspect of just like the religious side. And I just went to a relationship with God. It's like, it hit me in a place where I'm like, it got to be me and you. And we cooperate. And as we
Mm-hmm.
vibe and as we do forward, we're going to do this thing together. And so as I believed in self, but self from a posture with the divine cooperating with me. And brother, when I see you, man, I see that relationship, that I see that oneness. I see that vibe, that there's no excuse if you don't believe in the stuff that you use. Right? If you believe, if you stay there, that doors can't open for you. So, man, again, whatever's on your heart and mind in this flow, we just conversating right now. But whatever you want to jump on that
Yeah,
place just to ignite somebody, man. Go ahead.
now you spoke on a lot, and the biggest thing is like acknowledgement, and I want to kind of stay there and speak a little bit more to how like you had to acknowledge like what you needed to elevate and how you just needed to figure out what you needed. So many so many emerging leaders are trying to figure out like how to be there for other people. And I recently did a conference where I was speaking to a group of folks, and really I was speaking from a stance of like, before someone can trust you to lead them, you have to trust yourself to lead yourself. Before you can expect someone to entrust you to lead them, you have to first ask yourself, do I trust myself enough to lead my life? Or am I making decisions based off of what everyone is deciding? I work with high school seniors daily on an internship program. And the one thing I always balance, because I'm not a person with children, so I never try to challenge my parents in that way where I think I know because I have children. But the one thing I challenge them is the one thing I am an expert on is youth engagement. And if you want to engage more with your young people, allow them to be a leader of their life at a certain point, give them more and more room. So I got 18-year-olds that have been handheld throughout the process, and they don't know how to lead their life. They don't even know what they want for their life. And for me, people might say, oh, they got time, but I look at every place around the world, young people are advancing, and we're like, in a sense, coddling, right? And for my folks that, this isn't to do anything with young people, but the point I want to kind of make, the roundabout point, is that you got to stop coddling. You got to stop allowing people to coddle you on your decision making in life, and really like figure out what you want before you wake up and you look up and your life is built off of what other people thought you should do and what other people thought you should be, and what they think you're good at. And people regret that. People are like, man, I'm 35, I'm 40, and I literally looking at my life and I'm not fulfilled. And before we can even emerge to lead other people, we have to lead ourselves, and that start with finding fulfillment. So I'm glad that you found your fulfillment and understanding like what you needed along your life journey, man. Because at any point we can find it, and at that point, so much opportunity is open at that point. And that's what I
I,
want people to also realize, is like there's never a time limit or a timetable on something that you don't even know how much time you have, right? So
mm-hmm.
why not just attack it as if you let's go. Like, I still got a lot more life to live. Now I discover who I want to be. It doesn't matter how old you are.
Yeah.
Every day is opportunity.
I love it. What I hear you saying is, how do you want to express yourself? So we have to make that intentional decision as how we want to express ourselves. Now, here's what's funny too, right? Because I went through this phase. I just call it my low rebellious phase, and I'm just talking about the area like just dress and different things like that. I was like, man, I'm not dressing up. I'm gonna rock t-shirts. I'm gonna rock my hoodies. I'm gonna just do my thing, but I'm gonna keep some J's on my feet if I can, right? And so then I started realizing, oh, wait a minute. The message that I have is not just for one specific culture aspect, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
organizations, it's millionaires, it's billionaires, it's whoever, right? And I don't want to limit myself just by one aspect of it. So I was just literally saying to my wife, I was like, you know what? There's a different level as to me showing up as who I am. Is not just external, it starts from an internal aspect of it. But I can no longer limit myself just by saying I'm going to specifically wear this or specifically wear that. Whatever the season or the occasion calls for, and it's no judgment for whatever anybody rock when I wants to rock. But if I need to throw something on, suit up, tie, and do it, by all means, if that's going to help the message and move forward. Paul says it this way: I become all things to all men so I can win some. And realizing that. So I had to come to some level of inner vows and some stuff just in my place. I just felt like that's what I was doing. I was on my thing. And I realized when I opened my mind up to, I'm open to opportunities, I'm open to this, and however you want to express, whether it was in this house or that house or the church house or the school or this place, or I couldn't say this or whatever, it didn't matter. I realized that who I am, this is what I realized with the divine. You can take the divine, God, source, life, whatever you want to label it, right, as anywhere. Like anywhere you can take it. So if you can take God anywhere, why can't I go anywhere? Except for the
Facts.
area of the limitations that we put on ourselves. So how do we want to express ourselves is huge. Other part is who, and thank you for acknowledging that in me, but then what is the team that will help you get there? See, for me, like I've said before, coach, therapist, my doctor, my nurse practitioner, Lord willing, will be on the podcast next week. I'm sharing the area of the team because you talked about depression and all that. I shared the area story of it took holistic aspect of medicine, and it took prayer, it took medication and meditation to get me to this place. And I think we got to be honest about that, but saying, what is it that I need for this system? If you hop in a vehicle, it amazes me how we'll get in a car and we'll drive. And if we in this car together, Sam, it's only but 5 seconds. I'm going to say, bro, where are we going? But sometimes we get in the vehicle of life or vehicle of relationships and just be riding stuff and not asking what is the destination, or making a decision, an intentional
Facts.
decision that says, I'm going to get in this vehicle because we're going in this direction. So I don't know who that's for, but I just want to encourage the person that's listening right now to be in that posture and place to make the decision, but then also be real with self. Align yourself with what you need and go ahead and be it. Like, and there's a team that the divine will put around you. We met through was not Instagram, was it LinkedIn, where you
Yeah.
reached out, didn't realize that it's an area where we truly have connection. Then we start seeing each other.
Yeah, facts. Like literally saw each other like 2 or 3 times after that.
Bro.
It was
Bro.
literally, and I want to speak to one point. One of my mentors, like you had said, like, why if we don't limit, God,
Mm-hmm.
or the divine to a space, why should we limit ourselves? And my
Yeah.
mentor, he said, um, everywhere I go is the kingdom, is me serving the kingdom, because we view ourselves as a holy temple, as a kingdom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so essentially, wherever we go, that's where the kingdom exists,
Oh.
and so we can serve anywhere we go, and we can. And to your message, when you had quoted scripture, I agree with you. I agree wholeheartedly. Like even when I speak to different crowds, I move differently with them because it allows the message to be heard in a way that I needed to be heard. Like
Mm-hmm.
I use certain slang around certain areas, like East
Mm-hmm.
Coast, I can say certain,
Mm-hmm.
like yeah, I'm saying, and you're, and like that's how we going. That's how we going to connect, because you
Right.
going to understand I'm a part of community.
Right.
Or when I'm, in New Mexico or something, like I try to connect another way. Okay, I see I'm serving a small community. I come from a small community, Coastal.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
finding ways to say the same message in a different way. And to
Oh.
the second point of community, like as a emerging leader, if you don't, this is honestly the most important thing I've ever learned as a leader. Most important thing, you have to create a sense of community. If you create that,
Mm.
everything else will start to fall in line. Or when it comes to buy-in, people are more likely to buy in because they feel a sense of community. Like coming to Coatesville at the age of 9 and moving with my grandparents after losing my dad, the one thing I got, and I had this view, is that's where I got my sense of community. That's where I learned about certain things that were important to me. That's where I learned, and a lot of the values, and I understand that, like, wow, your team, even if it's 2 3 people, you got to create a community amongst y'all, so nothing feels forced, nothing feels unwanted, people feel heard, people feel respected. And even with my students, like they don't understand it because it's week 2 of our internship program of 10 months, but they don't understand what we're doing early because they're so used to a classroom where it's not a community, it's a dictatorship. And no disrespect to educators, because that's just how the education system is set up. You're the teacher and they tell you to follow a certain curriculum and do it a certain way. I've been blessed with an opportunity in education where I've been able to create programming that I get to develop and mold and shape. And I understood as an emerging leader, if you create community, you create culture. And when you create culture, you create greatness, you create success, and everybody thrives. So, I wanted to also add that point into like what we were talking about. Like, wherever we go, we're creating community. Even if it's for an hour, 2 hours, like a couple hours, we're doing it. So keep like creating community, man. Like super dope what you're doing.
Man, I appreciate you, man. You're super encouraging. And the truth of the matter is, I think we could probably go for another 2 hours going back and forth. But I do want you to speak to something. Then I want to ask how we can find you on social media. And then I'll ask you to leave us with a final thought from there. So,
For
the
sure.
thing that I want you to even speak to is the area of so the emerging leader who they're dealing with the area of things from the past, but they want to
Hmm.
choose a place of gratitude and learning and seeing it as a blessing instead of a burden. So again, some of the things that you had mentioned, and from the area of your personal story, um, what is some practical ways when you look at somebody who, and look, sometimes there's a place where somebody's not even, it's not even other people. that are judging them from their past. Sometimes we're judging our own selves. We know we used to be this and we used to be that, so forth and so on. So we keep ourselves. So what would you say, how that emerging leader can approach that past and do whatever it needs to do so that they can use that to transform and use it as fuel for their future?
That's a really, really good question. So, and I always speak from a place of experience and a place of growth. So, the one thing I would say is have a honest conversation with yourself or with your therapist of the past. Because often, like, if I'm being totally honest, we won't often take accountability for something that is obviously not our fault. But it's like we have to take accountability for now allowing it to affect us over and over and over again. So I would say, for those emerging leaders that something is just holding them back, face it head on with all your feelings, all your emotions, allow it to kind of flow out the way it needs to. And then from there, you'll start to see that it doesn't have as much power. And I think like we have to acknowledge that it exists and it happened, and that we may have had a hand in it, we may not have had a hand in it directly. But what we do have to acknowledge is that for years we're still holding on to it, right? Um, and that's what we often say. Nah, I'm good, or nah, I've been getting better. But it's like reality is we have never faced it. So many things that are in our past we never face, right? And if it wasn't for certain life situations, like certain things would have never got faced. But when that life situation happens for you, face it. Hopefully beforehand, but when something does happen, face it. When it feels painful, that's the best time to face it, because that's when you see everything and you're honest about everything. So I would say that. And then I've been big, and it's always been a consistent message since I started my business, that your mindset, um, you got to constantly develop it. And it's like working out. You got to constantly put in reps. You got to constantly speak life into yourself. You got to constantly celebrate yourself when you do get those wins, right? Be the loudest in a room, like even when you don't get the responses, right? For years, my family viewed my business as like I went to college and wasted money on a degree to go talk. Who's going to pay you to talk, right? And it's because they didn't understand the perspective of when they grew up, and the time that they grew up. They didn't see black people doing this, right? So I don't hold that against them. But the one thing I had to develop through family not believing in me, through people saying no left and right, it took 3 years before someone even paid me. And my first ever pay was like $200 for a place I had to drive to that was far, and I was up there with other speakers, and I was holding my own, and to see the young people come up after, like all of these things I had to have the mindset for. And if you don't have the mindset, it's hard to get through things when things get tough. And I'll leave you with this word. um First part, and this is the title of my book: grow through what you go through. Find ways to find growth in everything. The ups, downs, the good, the bad, the ugly, the pretty. Always find growth. Always find growth so that you can prepare yourself for the storms of life. And I always say the storms of life represents everything that happens to you, right? Sometimes, like, you got hurricanes in your life. Sometimes you have, a light rain shower. It's a storm. But after every storm is a beautiful rainbow. And that rainbow represents the new version that comes out of that storm. And that I'm not here to preach to you that you have to become like avoid storms, because you can't avoid storms. It's life. You can't avoid life happening to you. But I want you to become storm resistant. I want to equip you with the raincoats, the hats, the boots, the umbrella. And what that is a strong mindset. What that is a strong community. What that is your dreams and you acknowledging that you are further than where you were last year. Even if it's 1%, get better by 1% and you'll learn how to dance through those storms so that you could become the rainbow that you always meant to be. And a beautiful thing that happens, just like in real life, storms come and go. But you know what also comes and goes? Rainbows. So these storms are going to keep hitting you. But you're going to be able to dance through them, and you're still going to become a new version because those lessons are still going to help you become that new version. So learn how to dance through the storms of life so you can become the rainbow that you always meant to be. And that's what I got for you.
Bro, look, that's it. Look, I need to know where we can find that book and where we can find you on social.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So my book, Grow Through What You Go Through, you can find that on Amazon. If you look up Grow Through What You Go Through, type my name, Sam Brown. It'll also be available on my website. I'm updating my website currently, but that website is www.faithandeffort.org for all information on me, the business, the services, all that. Instagram, Faith and Effort, spelled all the way out, FAITHANDEFFORT, on Instagram, on TikTok, and also on LinkedIn. You could just search Sam Brown, National Speaker. I'm more than happy to connect with folks. More than happy to have more conversations, provide some services, whatever y'all need. But one, this is super dope, man, and I always be like, it's late night. I done worked all day. I've been up, working out, working with the kids, doing it, and I got so much energy because of you. So one, I appreciate you for bringing the energy because I was able to match it. I'm really good at like matching energies, and I think this was just a dope conversation where we vibed off of. So like, keep doing your thing, man. And if you're not subscribed and you're listening, I need y'all to subscribe on everything because these are the small moments in life that can change your life. Pastor Darius Daniels says, "Small tweaks equals large leaps," and this could be the small tweak in your life by listening to something, and it activates something in you to tug at to tug internally, right? That inner tug. This might be the activation moment for you. And don't be like me and not listen to that. Like I didn't listen to, and I took that presidency. Listen to your IT, your it.
Look, go get the book, y'all. Seriously, go get the book. And you're like, all right, well, I got the book. I read the book. That's great. Well, get it again and bless somebody else with it. Look, it's coming to the holiday season. You want to be grateful. You want to sow some things into some people. Get some knowledge. And so that this is a story that I have to get to put my mouth with. I have not read the book yet. You got it on Audible?
I'm working on it. I gotta
Okay.
record it, but
Okay.
but it's definitely coming holiday season for Audible for sure.
Okay. All right.
And
Well, give me those
also,
links.
yes, also for folks that are listening, as of midnight tonight, if you are listening or you listen to this tomorrow, for the rest of the week, for those that are looking to purchase the book for yourself or for a loved one, I'll give a special free shipping and 15% off. The code is going to be it.
Ah, I love it.
It's going to be it. IT, capital I, capital T. Or actually, now I'll make it simple so you don't got to put the dots, colons in between anything.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it.
yeah.
So free shipping, 15% off, and I also sign every book with a message. I also want to put that out there. I send a message. I may not know you, but I'm gonna send you something that's going to bless you. So all of those are also signed. So we'll have all these links to where to purchase it, and again,
Yeah.
free shipping, 15% off. I'll drop the links for sure because you'll have to buy directly from me, so I can give you
Okay.
free shipping. Because Amazon, they don't give you nothing for free unless you their Prime membership.
Look, I appreciate you, man. You're amazing. Y'all, Elevation Nation, please. Again, like I said, follow Sam on socials. We'll have those links. We'll put those in the notes. We'll also get everything else that he has as well. Look, we appreciate you, brother. You are amazing. You're awesome. Again, we speak life and only good, great, and awesomeness flow to and through you in all your endeavors. Elevation Nation, you know what to do. Continue to move forward, and be all that you are called and being tugged to be. If you haven't checked out the episode from last week, we had Christian Flores on. Check it out in our Intentional Decisions pod series. It's amazing, it's awesome, and it's going to continue to be better. Take this episode and take the link from here, okay? Share it with someone that you know can benefit from this. Sam, as always, it's a pleasure. I appreciate you. Elevation Nation, we'll get with you. All right? Peace.